Welcome everyone to another Singerreise video podcast. My name is Jonathan Sylvia and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us. This video is the third in a series of videos about writing in a translation into your vocal score. In the first video, we talked about the why and the when of writing in a translation and some of the most basic tools that we needed, like a pencil. In the second video, we talked about a starting translation, what that entails and where to find them. I'll pause for just a minute here and mention that I call it a starting translation because it's only a launching point for us to create our own translation. We'll talk a little bit more about that in this video. For this one, we're going to talk about the last two remaining tools that we are going to need. We'll talk about using a language dictionary and using a laptop. And then we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty details about doing the actual writing itself. So, thanks for joining us and let's get started. So by now, you already have a starting translation that you think is going to work pretty well. It's either a line-by-line translation or a word-for-word translation. And you might even have two of these so you can compare and contrast as you go. The next thing that you're going to need is a language dictionary. This is one of my language dictionaries. It's a German-English dictionary that I picked up all the way back in college. And it's kind of ratty and yellow, and I should probably get an updated one because it's quite old. But this German-English dictionary has in it German words in one half of it with English translations, and in the other half has English words with German translations, so you can do translation in either direction. There are a couple of advantages to having a language dictionary nearby. The first one is that if you are using a line-by-line translation and you can't quite figure out how to get the words in the original language to match up with the translation, you can always look up the original language words in your dictionary and find out where its matching word is. The second advantage, however, is that for every German word that is in this dictionary, there are multiple English options available for us to choose from. You see, language is not math, and very rarely does one word have only one translation. There's always a multitude of meaning and a multitude of options available to us. So challenge the translation that you have, even if it's a word-for-word translation, so that you really understand all of what is going on in the original text. Really seek to understand. Again, the objective is to understand what we are saying so that our audience can understand what we are saying. The last tool that we need to write in a translation is some sort of laptop or perhaps a tablet. For example, I'll have my Surface Pro 3 here to work on the translation for Singerreise, or for the next opera. You need to have some sort of translation utility loaded onto it, like a web page open to Google Translate or to Bing Translate. There's a couple good reasons we want to have a modern utility like this to do our translations. The first one, of course, is that it's a modern piece of technology that is updated with the most modern stuff of language. Language is an evolving, living thing. It doesn't stay as it is printed in the books, for example, even as good as the books are. The second thing, though, is that we would want to use it the same way that we use our language dictionaries. So if it's a line-by-line translation to match up the words, or if it's a word-for-word translation that we are using to try and find alternative translations for every word. Bing and Google Translate are really, really good with this. You can just click on the word and find out a whole list of options to choose from. So that's really great. I caution you, however, not to go and type in your entire text of the song into one side of the translator and then just to lift out the translation that comes out of it on the other side. This is not going to work at all. The translation that comes out on the other side has to be tweaked, has to be understood. In most cases, it won't make very good sense at all. So I caution you not to do that. Start with a printed starting translation and use the internet tool and the language dictionary to supplement it. Now that we've assembled all of our tools, it's time to actually start writing. For me, I like to write tiny and clearly about 1/2 of an inch or maybe 3/4 of an inch above the vocal staff. This allows me a little bit of space above the staff to mark in things like breath markings or decrescendos or crescendos. I don't tend to do it below the staff because that's where the original text is, and there usually isn't room. Even if there is room, I like to reserve that space for marking in pronunciation reminders. If you're working on an opera, you're going to need to translate the lines of anybody who is on stage at the same time as your character. You need to know what everybody is saying in order to be able to react appropriately to it. While you're doing the translation, for example, you might find out that one character is not talking to you, he's talking to another character, and that you need to butt out of that conversation. Or another example, you may find that this character is having an aside, and perhaps that's not the best time to try and stare intently at them. Once you're finished with the translation, you'll have a score that you can take with you to an opera rehearsal or to a lesson. Also, if you're working on art song and you have an accompanist, make a photocopy of your vocal score with the translation written in and give that to your accompanist. You'll probably want to check your photocopy to make sure that the pencil markings are still legible. Doing that helps you sort out with your accompanist where you might want to stretch a little bit of time and do some rubato to bring out certain words, or where the phrases are and what the meaning of the phrases are so that you know where to breathe together. This is all stuff that accompanists need to know. And that's pretty much it. If some of you have practices or anecdotes about translation that you'd like to share, please leave them in the comments down below. Or you can comment on the Facebook page or on the Singerreise.com page. We'd love to hear from you and discuss with you and learn from you as well. If you'd like to keep up to date with the latest Singerreise video series, go to the YouTube channel and click on the subscribe button. That helps you keep in touch and you'll get an email the next time that a video is released. So, again, thanks for watching and I hope that you'll come by for the next one.